I had a life-changing accident. I thought my husband would be there to stick with me through the tough and everything, but he wasn't. As a matter of fact, he's going for my daughter. That's right, he's going for my daughter. Well, luckily, I made a post on Facebook about everything I've been going through, and the most unlikely person came to rescue me. I'm writing this post as a last resort. I'm hoping for some advice or even words of comfort. I have no one else to turn to because the ones I love have turned against me. What I feared was happening turned out to be the truth. Somehow my husband and daughter have decided that there's no use for me anymore. I don't know which of them came up with the idea to throw me out. They just woke up one day and decided that I could not live in my own house anymore. I've been exiled to an old trailer at the back of the house, and it's cold, has no heated water, and gets freezing at night. I'm running out of money to buy food, and all my job applications are straight up being rejected. Since my accident about a year ago, I've been limited in the jobs that I can get, and I got into a car accident last year and lost the use of my legs. The other driver was at fault and had to pay me a settlement. It was quite a substantial amount of money, which I chose to invest. I asked my husband Pete to invest the money on my behalf since he knew more about stocks than I did. He assured me that he would find the best stocks to invest in with a good yield. It's been about a year, and I've not heard back from him about my money. In fact, he has increasingly started to talk down to me. Has, among many things, also called me useless and a burden. It hurts me, because when I got married to him 7 years ago, I swear he was not like this. I'm 42, female, and I've just gotten out of my first marriage with Richard. When I met Pete, Richard and I had a daughter named Maria, who's now 21. I found out through Maria that Richard was cheating on me. You see, Richard did not even have the nerve to tell the truth. Instead, he blatantly denied cheating on me and tried to gaslight me into thinking that I was just imagining things. Because of that, the divorce was very bitter and long. I got sole custody of Maria and have not seen Richard in 10 years. He paid alimony for the first couple of years while I found my footing. After he stopped paying alimony, I did not get in contact with him again. I met Pete sometime later, and we've been married ever since. For years, about 7 now. I was attracted to Pete due to his kindness, generosity, and empathy. He showed me kindness at a time when I had a very low self-esteem. Because of him, I was able to open my heart up again. He was a good father to Maria and a wonderful husband to me. Now, several years later, Maria's 21 and still staying at home. She went to college for a bit but dropped out. She does not seem to have any direction in life, and I've tried to advise her on careers, but she can't hold down a job. When I got my accident, I talked to her and told her that I might not be able to work for quite a while, and I just advised her to do something with her life, and she acted like she heard me, but to this day, she's done nothing. All she has done is team up with my husband against me. Well, their betrayal was absolutely gradual, and they started excluding me from activities with their excuse that they were not wheelchair accessible. Then they started to spend more time together until I was completely isolated. When I talk to my husband about how much I miss him, he tells me that I'm being insecure. He tells me that he just wants to spend time with, his daughter. I'm not gonna lie, guys, some thoughts crossed my mind, but I scolded myself for even thinking such a horrible thing. He was her dad, despite not sharing the same blood. So, would never look at her in that way. Still, I don't know. I was quite unsettled by how close they became. It was almost like they were age mates. Slowly, a new dynamic developed inside of the household. They started to take each other's side, and when they were in any disagreement, eventually the line was drawn. If I dared to pressure my daughter about going to school or getting a job, Pete would tell me to back off and stop being such a bully. Well, with each day, I got more aggravated with him. My husband and I drifted further away from each other until the day that he told me that he did not love me anymore. He tells me that ever since I got into the accident, I had changed, and he simply did not recognize me. He thought that my attitude was nasty, and I was now a bad mom. My self-esteem was already at an all-time low, so this was a huge blow. I started to consider my actions. Maybe I was a bad mother. To add salt to the wound, my daughter started giving me the silent treatment. When I asked Pete about it, he told me that I was making everybody in the house uncomfortable and unhappy. Due to me needing help all the time, they felt as if they could not live their life. With that, they told me that they decided that it was better for me to stay in the trailer outside. Yeah, that's right. They felt as if I was a burden and needed to take care of myself. They thought that I had recovered enough to find a job and take care of myself. Yes, such cold words coming from my own family. I protested, of course, and told them that they were being ridiculous, which angered Pete. A side of him I'd grown to hate reared its ugly head, and he told me that it was not a suggestion. He told me that I had no say in this, and he demanded it. I was enraged and told him that he has no right to kick me out of my own home. So then he dared me to do something about it since I was so powerful. He told me that the money was never in my name since I gave it to him. He also told me that he had some friends in law who would make sure I never got my investment back. Well, he wasn't lying. Pete has some very influential friends due to his field of work. It's often helped us in the past. For him to use that as a weapon against me truly broke me, guys. Pete then said I was lucky he was even letting me stay in the yard. He felt as if he should kick me out so I could fend for myself. I told him that people would start to notice what he did and question him, and he reminded me that I became a social recluse. You see, if he told people that I had started to abuse substances and he was too merciful to send me to rehab, they would believe him, just like that. He said those words so convincingly that I too believed them. Nobody would really care about my opinion. They would most likely believe Pete and my daughter. With that, they exiled me back of the house, and there I now stay, forgotten, and the few times that I've interacted with them, they've been unpleasant. Each time they taunt me about the fact that I have not found a job yet. I feel like an invalid. I feel so hopeless and I cry every night. I can't believe that the people I've loved and taken care of for years have just discarded me like this. I've tried to beg and plead with them to let me back into their house, but I've been met with a cold silence. The look in their eyes is one of disgust and disdain. I'm but of a burden to them. I don't know what to do anymore, guys. I really don't. Every day I look for a job, but I can't find it. I don't even have enough money to get a lawyer so I can get my money back from Pete. I fear that I'll rot in this trailer and they will not even care. I'm too scared to ask anybody I know for help, you know. Who knows what Pete has told them about me? They most likely believe him over me. After all, I've become a social recluse ever since my accident. It took a lot of mental strain on me to lose use of my legs, so I stopped talking to many people because I just didn't want to be reminded of what happened to me. Maybe they'll take it as me being antisocial. Maybe I should just fade away and let them forget me since all I am is a burden. But is there any chance that any of you have any idea what I can do? Please, tell me. I would appreciate every bit of advice that I can get right now. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I can't believe OP's daughter is going along with this. This is ridiculous, but we're going to see what happens because the first update came out a week later. And guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you're enjoying today's story. Let's get right into it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe. Update number 1. Hey guys, it's been a week since my last update. First of all, I would like to thank you all for the comments. Some of them were very encouraging and very much helpful. I've taken a lot of time to reflect on the entire situation. In doing so, I've decided to take a shot in the dark. 3 days ago, I wrote a Facebook post. In it, I explained to people what has been fallen upon me. I explained to them how my husband had been ill-treating me and how I had nowhere to turn. I asked for help with any work opportunities or organizations that can help women like me. In the beginning, I got so much sympathy in the comments, people could not believe the sweet, kind Pete would do something like this to little old me. I got many offers for help, and I started to feel better. Unfortunately, that feeling was short-lived, because somebody told Pete and Maria all about my post. The two of them then proceeded to accuse me of drug use in the comments section, and they also claimed that since I got an accident, I've not been the same. They accused me of being violent and unbearable to live with. They said that they wanted to take me to rehab, but I promised to change, then I moved out on my own accord into the trailer. They believed that I was on drugs again. I tried to dispute their claims, but people were divided. Some people actually believed them, noting how I had not been myself lately. Then they started to beg me to agree to go to rehab, and people who had offered me haven in their home started to revoke their offers. The entire post turned negative, and I felt even worse than before, so I ended up deleting it. At least I tried, but it appeared that no help was coming. But then at my lowest point, I get a message from an unexpected person. When I saw the name pop up on the screen, I thought it was simply a mistake. We have not spoken in many, many moons, and have no reason to. It turns out I was not mistaken in seeing that my ex-husband Richard had reached out to me. He told me that he had seen the Facebook post, and he does believe me. Of course, I was absolutely flabbergasted. How could he believe me when everyone else did not? He tells me that our daughter was not who I thought she was, and she most likely was the mastermind behind this all. I said that at this point I have no idea who she was anymore either. He then called me and we talked for hours. I simply told him everything that had happened, from the accident to me being kicked out. Richard was so attentive to me and listened to me, and I felt so much better after talking to him. We've been talking over the past couple of days, and honestly, he's been such a godsend. Well, he has. He sent me money for food and checks in on me every day. His kindness has come out of the blue, but it's very much appreciated. The fact that he still cares about me after all these years, it makes me wonder if I made a mistake in leaving him. Sure, he cheated on me, but he never did something as terrible as Pete has done to me. I've started to wish that I've stayed and worked on my marriage despite the cheating. I'm pretty certain that he would still have taken care of me if I was unable to walk. You know, guys, this new development has been quite interesting. What is even more interesting is the fact that he has expressed that he wants to see me. He's currently out of the state, but believes that he'll be coming to my side in a couple of weeks. I've not seen him in many years, and I don't look the best. What if he's doing this just to laugh in my face when he sees me? I've lost all trust in people, so forgive me for being skeptical, but guys, I'll ask you, should I see him? Update number 2. Hey, everybody. It's been around 2 weeks since my last post, and I decided to take a leap of faith and allow Richard to go and visit me. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. After all, we haven't seen each other in over a decade. I wish that we had met under normal circumstances, but alas, this is my life now. As I waited for him to visit me, he asked more questions about my situation. He believed that there was a way to get my money back, but it would be pretty tricky. I told him that I did not have much hope, but I was thankful that he was willing to try. It meant the world to me and reminded me of why I married him all those years ago. I counted down the days till he would visit. I contemplated telling my daughter that he was coming since he was her father, but I decided against it. They've not been on good terms since the divorce, and there's no reason to think that they would get along now. I decided to deal with it when he finally came to visit. After a short wait, Richard arrived at the house. He looked very good for his age, and he seemed healthy and happy, which I was glad about. I was pretty certain that I looked like death itself, but what could I do? So, I led him to the trailer where I cooked a meal for us. I didn't have much, but I put my heart into it, and as we ate, we talked about everything. He told me that he had been in a couple of relationships after we broke up, but in reality, he never married. He was now in a senior position at work and doing well. His focus was on saving for retirement in just a couple of years. When he mentioned retirement, my stomach got into a knot. I wondered what I would do since all of my life's work had been taken away from me. He sat and talked for hours as if it was old times. I laughed for the first time in a very long time because he was still very funny. As I was laughing, we had an unexpected guest join us. I guess we had made so much noise that Pete heard us. His face changed when he saw Richard, and he asked me who the man was and if I was cheating on him. Richard introduced himself courteously, but Pete pushed his hand away, and Pete then told Richard to get the hell off of his property. I reminded Pete that this was also my house and I could bring anybody over that I want. I informed him that we were discussing none of his business, but, therefore, he needs to leave. At that moment, Maria shows up, and when she saw her father there, she was incredulous. She asked if I had gotten so desperate that I had gone to beg him. I reminded her that she abandoned me. She had no say in who I saw. While I was busy trying to reason with Maria, Richard and Pete were going at it.
Pete was out of his mind with anger, and he felt incredibly disrespected that I brought my ex here and thought that we were having an affair. I screamed at Pete to leave us alone because he was being a nuisance, but he refused. I saw that this was going nowhere, so I asked to leave so that I could deal with Pete and Maria. Richard left but promised to check in on me again. I decided that the next time I saw him, it would not be at this house. After Richard left, Maria then asked me why I did not leave with him. She asked why I did not take him back since, after all, he never cheated. It took me a while to register the words that came out of her mouth. What did she mean? He'd never cheated. I asked her to repeat her words, and she shouted impatiently at me. She told me that she made up the whole cheating story because he did not buy her the toy that she wanted as a kid. He had never been unfaithful towards me, but I believed her because she had always been an honest child. I was extremely upset and wanted to slap the hell out of her, but I was unable to. When I tried to move towards her, Pete got in between us. He told me that he could seriously harm me right now, and I would not be able to do anything about it, and then he took her away and left me in the trailer. I've been thinking about her words, and she just confirmed that Richard never cheated on me. My marriage ended because of her lie. What sort of monster did I raise? I mean, all these years she knew that she ended my marriage. What a cruel child. I'm absolutely disgusted to call her my daughter. This revelation has changed things for me a lot. I have to tell Richard what I just found out, but what will it change? Update number 3. Hey everyone, it's been a week since I last updated, 3 days after my confrontation with my daughter. Well, I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I think I've disowned her. She has already discarded me, so what's the point in trying to fix things? She's been going down a path of destruction right in front of my eyes, and I was none the wiser. I blame myself for not being more of an attentive parent. When I found out what happened, I knew that I had to tell Richard. I texted him and asked to see him. I was only able to see him the next day, and he said that he was only going to be in town for 2 more days and then he had to leave. It was not easy for me to admit that I was wrong to him. I informed him what Maria said after he left, and the poor man cried as he had said that he told me all these years he just wanted me to believe him. He could not believe that our daughter threw him under the bus like that. He was incredibly glad that finally I knew the truth and no longer hated him. I left him knowing that any anger that I had toward him faded away in the past. I just regretted all those years that we spent apart. He told me that he was never able to love anyone as much as he loved me. He thought about me for all those years, and when I responded to his message, he was absolutely over the moon. He wished that he could take care of me, and he wanted to take me away from that crazy household. I asked what he meant when he mentioned this tricky offer. Well, Richard wanted me to leave town with him. He didn't feel comfortable leaving me alone with Pete. He felt as if Pete was a violent man who could do anything to me at any time. I reminded Richard that Pete still had access to my money. Richard assured me that he had been looking into it and it was close to finding a solution for it. He just needed to trust me, because he would solve all this. He was leaving in 2 days and I did not know what to do. I knew that it would be logical to go with him, but it would be a bit scary. We no longer know each other as much as we used to. I mean, what does this mean for our relationship? I had to think about this very deeply because it was not an easy thing for me to do. Well, I thought about it. I had to deal with my daughter, who had become increasingly dramatic. As a mother, you know many things about your daughter that even they don't know. I've observed something about her that I'm hoping is not true. If it is, then her life is about to get a heck of a lot more complicated. She's been increasingly sick. She gained weight and is moody, and all those are signs pointing to something. It's a pity that I might never find out because I've left the house. That's right, I've decided to move in with Richie. There's no one else in this town who will help me except for him. He is a familiar person who has proven that he does care about me. I feel safe around him, and now I know that he will never ever cheat on me. I've been staying with him for the past 4 days, and so far it's going well. It feels so good to sleep in a comfortable bed, have hot water, and eat good food. I've almost forgotten how that feels due to my ordeal. Richard has been extremely caring towards me and is very invested in my health. He wants me to resume physiotherapy in a couple of weeks, and I'm happy to do all of that because I know that he wants what is best for me. He's also alerted me that he's working on a lawsuit against Pete. Watching him on the phone with the lawyers and working on the case is so fascinating. I feel so taken care of and important, and I've not felt important in a very long time. I've forgotten how much of a protector he is, and I know that I'm finally in good hands. I'll update you guys about the outcome of the case as soon as it's resolved. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy being taken care of and catching up with Richard. Final updates. Hey guys, it's been 8 months since my last update. I've not forgotten about you. The case just dragged on and on. The judge gave a verdict just a couple of days ago, and I have been soaking in the verdict until now. Before I tell you what the verdict is, I wanted to let you guys know that my daughter was indeed pregnant. About 2 months into the case proceedings, she revealed that she was pregnant with Pete's child. Pete denied having anything to do with it, and he had his hands full with the lawsuit and our divorce and did not want to be burdened with a kid. Of course, she ran to me and told me that he took advantage of her. She claimed that he promised her money and that she has been taken care of. Maria then had the nerve to ask me if she could move in with me and her father. I refused. I told her to stay with Pete, and she felt he was more of her family than me. The case, it dragged on for several more months, which, with time, it got worse. News of her involvement with Pete spread, and eventually she got so stressed that she suffered a miscarriage, and nobody would take her in, so she had to go to a shelter. I've not heard from her since then, and as for Pete, he had no choice but to pay me back the money. He might have intimidated me with all his lawyer friends, but he did not cover his bases. There was more than enough evidence that he used my money to invest, and he was forced to hand over the account details to me. In addition to that, he was sentenced to 2 months in jail for theft. In the same breath, I divorced him. My main reason for divorcing him was emotional abuse. I had all the text messages between us and recordings of all the time when he was emotionally abusive. Richard had told me to start recording all of this shortly after we reconnected. You know, it turned out to be a very good idea, because I was given the entire house and he had to pay for alimony. He lost his job when words of what he did to me spread. I mean, right now, he's serving his 2 months and will be coming out soon. So, I don't worry about him coming after me because I'm already in another state with my fiancé. Yeah, that's right, I said fiancé. Over the past couple of months, I've reconnected with Richard, and the love never faded, it just reignited. The way that he had handled the situation and the way he has cared for me has reignited my love for him. Due to that, we've decided to give marriage a second chance. We will not take this chance for granted. We believe that it was fate for us to be together. I'm more than excited for this new chapter of our journey. I love him so much, and I'm thankful that he's back in my life.